What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to talk about if The Last of Us's multiplayer is going to be revealed in 2022. If this is finally going to be the year that we see the game. Now, I don't necessarily even know what to call it, right? Some people are calling it The Last of Us Part 2's multiplayer, The Last of Us 2 multiplayer, factions. I think it's going to have, or it should have, a unique name because it needs to be non-associated with The Last of Us 2, Part 2, and then also probably shouldn't be called The Last of Us Factions because that's what the first one was called, unless they just want to copy that. But regardless, we could go on for like 10 hours about what the name should be. Is next year going to finally be, or 2022, depending on where we are when you guys are watching this video, is it going to be the year we see the game? I do believe so. I think it kind of... Well, I struggle to say it has to be, right, because that always gets people upset one way or the other, but I feel like we're at a point where you at least need to introduce it. However, the way, I guess, what kind of game this is, it is pretty different from, like, anything Sony has done before. It's definitely different than from anything Naughty Dog's done before in the sense that it's its own unique standalone, you know what I mean, experience. We also have the fact that Sony really wants to go into the live service kind of mode. They want to go into mobile gaming, right? So this Last of Us game truly could be the first to be, firstly, not just on PlayStation when it launches. That's kind of been a prediction of mine for a while now. I do believe when The Last of Us multiplayer, again, whatever you want to call it, launches, it'll be on both PlayStation 4 and 5, or maybe just 5, but one of them, and also on PC, at least. If not, also on mobile devices, if that's like a fast track thing, or maybe it comes to PC and PlayStation first, and then mobile devices later. But I think that is a possibility, at least the first two, to try to just get as many people into the game day one as you can, and then keep them for a long time through, again, the game lasting for, however long it's going to last. I'm not immediately the biggest fan of this idea. I've talked about live service games before. I've talked about, just games as a service before. Granted, this, again, is a first of its kind, and this is Naughty Dog. It's the biggest studio, or, one of the most respected studios Sony has. So if anybody can do it at least different, whether it's good or bad, it's definitely, I think, going to be them. But I just think, with all of the job postings that they've had, with all the people asking, and with them having to constantly address, like, yes, the game is happening, or it's going to happen, and we're going to get it out, just not, we don't have anything to show yet. I do have the controversial opinion that I don't know why it's taken them so long, and again, saying it like that obviously comes off kind of bad, and people have opinions, but what I mean is, I don't really know why it seems like they started multiplayer so late in the development of The Last of Us Part 2. It seems like they started the development of it back in 2019, like the mid portion of 2019, which is pretty late considering the game came out, about a year later in 2020. I think, again, you obviously want this game to be separate from the multiplayer, you want the multiplayer, I guess, to be separate from The Last of Us Part 2, but it is called The Last of Us, and it's been it's been a year and a half now since the game came out. I feel like it would have flourished the most the closer you released it to the game, with the base game coming out. So I don't know how well it'll do, but again, because it'll probably be a live servicey thing, it'll probably have battle royale elements mixed in. It's going to be a game for a lot of different people, Twitch streamers, YouTube. It's going to get a lot of different people, and I don't necessarily even think it matters, how far away it is from the base game. So I've kind of let that idea overall go, even though I do think it could have been helped if it released, last year. But that's just the way that it is. But I've said it before in other videos, the thing that makes me excited about Sony in general is a lot of unknowns, right? There's a long list of games that we either know about, but they're like years away, or we haven't seen much, like Spider-Man, Wolverine, Pragmata, all of these games, even Final Fantasy 16, you could argue, right? And those are just a couple off the top of my head. Then you have games that you don't even know about. I guess The Last of Us multiplayer would fall into the first category, though, right? We know it exists, we know it's coming, but we really don't know anything about it. We haven't seen it yet. We don't know how much of a similar thing it's going to be to the first game's multiplayer, or if it's going to be really different in terms of the modes and just how you play it. So there's a lot of potential there. That doesn't mean it has to nail it. Again, I'm not necessarily pessimistic or optimistic. I kind of just want to see it first before I have any really bold things to say about it. But I'd imagine next year is the year. Naughty Dog is a team that works on obviously a couple different things, and they seem like a flowing studio where people kind of help out and all that stuff. This upcoming June will be 2 years since The Last of Us Part 2. That doesn't mean immediately you take those 2 years and you say, oh, it's been 2 years, so there needs to be another game coming out. again, because there's all these different teams, it seems like they're working on The Last of Us' remake, but they're also working, I think, on one other thing, and then they're also working on this multiplayer thing. So I think they have 3 projects in all, at least that's in my opinion. And, does that slow them down? Does that speed them up? It depends on, how their structure is. But I could imagine this upcoming year kind of has to be the year that we at least hear about it and see it. But again, I don't even know for a game that is a Battle Royale, live service, or again, maybe, or potential elements of it. But a game that is those things, how much of a lead up do you even have? Like, do you announce it and then do you release it like a year later or like 6 months later? Or can you announce it and it releases like 2 or 3 months? Or can you do, this would be a bombshell kind of thing, and you've seen it before, but for games that maybe aren't as big, do you do an announcement and you say the alpha is up? Like, you can play it. We want play testers. We want to see how it runs. Like, go in it right now. Any of those options are available. And I think it's pretty possible, in my opinion, that maybe next year not only is the year that we see it, but also we play it in some capacity, whether it's an alpha, beta, stress test, whatever it may be. I think, that could happen, and maybe the game even releases by the end of next year. Again, it'll be pretty interesting for all of the elements. What does it come out on? When does it come out? How many different modes are there? What are, again, does it have Battle Royale stuff to get those kind of players in? Is there stuff for people that don't really care? Because I don't care at all. About Battle, I just don't. I think Battle Royale is kind of killing the game industry in a way. I don't really care. Now, I'll play it. I want to see what they would do with it, with the way The Last of Us plays, or maybe there's like just infected running around in this kind of semi-open world that the map shrinks. I actually think that would be kind of cool, but it's not going to keep me long term. But it doesn't have to. It's to keep other people long term. But then is it going to have things for me? So we'll see how they kind of balance it all. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Make sure, as always, you're subscribed to the channel. Hit the bell icon so you guys know when all these videos go up. I'll, of course, cover any news when it starts to come out on the multiplayer for The Last of Us. If you guys want to follow me anywhere else, I have a Twitter. I have a second YouTube channel. I also have Patreon and YouTube memberships. The links for all of those, if you want to support us there, is in the description below. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all on the next video.